Breaking right now on Morning News Now, a horrific tragedy sending shockwaves across Hollywood and beyond. Acclaimed director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle found dead in their home with what appear to be stab wounds. What we are learning from sources as the investigation gets underway. Also breaking this morning, authorities searching for a killer after a mass shooting at Brown University. And in Australia, a father and son accused in a mass shooting at a Hanukkah event at the famous Bondi Beach. Beachgoers seen running from the scene as shots are fired. The 50-year-old suspect killed by officers and his 24-year-old son hospitalized.
Two men, mini sniper, he say in the pole white and bomb, 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 everything, and bomb, bomb.
I seen him jump out with the gun and then I heard bang, 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 bang. 3 minutes of gunfire, didn't stop.
Now, officials vowing to crack down on guns and anti-Semitism. We will bring you the latest. Plus, let it snow. This morning, the East Coast and the Midwest waking up to several inches of snow, causing problems that could impact your morning commute. We are tracking the totals and the cold as you head out the door. And financial fears. A new NBC News poll shows the economy is the biggest concern for Americans. We will break down the findings, something that has not changed in quite some time now as we get these polls.
Good morning. Good to have you with us. A violent weekend across the globe. We've got it all covered for you. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We're going to start this hour with that breaking news. First, out of California, filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer were found stabbed to death in their Los Angeles home, according to a source close to the family.
Paramedics and police were called to Reiner's home yesterday afternoon in the Brentwood neighborhood. They were responding to a report of two deceased people. So far, police have not officially confirmed their deaths. They've only said they're investigating a homicide at the Reiner's home. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky is near that home with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, here in Brentwood this morning, this investigation just getting started. In fact, less than a block behind me, you can see that the crime scene unit remains just in front of the home that authorities say belonged to Rob Reiner and his wife. That is the location where firefighters were initially dispatched Sunday afternoon. Shortly thereafter, they called for LAPD, and it was inside that home that police confirmed they found the body of a 78-year-old man and a woman. A source close to the family confirming it was indeed Hollywood legend Rob Reiner and his wife. As for where the investigation goes from here, LAPD is saying very little at this time, saying that they do not have a suspect or person of interest, and they're letting the investigators scour this scene in hopes of learning more about what took place. The cause of death, officially, we're still awaiting to hear from the coroner. However, a source close to the family says that both were apparently suffering from multiple stab wounds. As far as the scene here in Brentwood, this scene very much closed off. We do anticipate hearing from investigators at some point later today in hopes of learning much more. The Reiner family did release a statement overnight asking for privacy during this incredibly difficult time. As for the 78-year-old Reiner, he was a legend of Hollywood, the son of another Hollywood legend, of course, that being Carl Reiner. But Rob Reiner is successful in his own right, both as an actor, writer, and director, known for beloved movies such as When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, and A Few Good Men. As for what could be potentially behind the death of both Reiner and his wife, that is unknown at this hour, but a stunning loss in the Hollywood community here this morning. We'll send it back to you.
Right. Morgan, thank you so much. Australia is in shock after one of its worst mass shootings in decades that left at least 15 people killed and dozens injured. Happened on Sunday at an event celebrating the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah in Sydney's famous Bondi Beach. Police say two gunmen, a father and son, are suspected of being behind the shooting, which authorities are calling an act of anti-Semitism and a terror attack.
Among the victims, a 10-year-old girl and a rabbi. Police say one of the gunmen was killed while the other is in critical condition in the hospital. Amid the carnage, a story of heroism. This eyewitness video, look at this. It shows the moment a 43-year-old bystander approached one of the gunmen and wrestled the weapon out of his hands. The hero was identified as Ahmed El Ahmed, a Muslim fruit shop owner.
NBC News correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer joins us now with more on this story. So, Janice, walk us through how this all unfolded on Sunday and what we're learning about the victims.
Well, people who were there describe it as 9 minutes of terror at the most famous stretch of beach in Australia. It's where Jewish families were having a Hanukkah event to celebrate the Festival of Lights. They had food and face painting, and then the shooting rampage started. And several witnesses said they thought the popping sound was actually fireworks. But two men, a father and son, opened fire with long rifles, shooting indiscriminately, methodically from a bridge. The videos are distressing. They show people falling, screaming, families scrambling to find their kids. The Prime Minister has called the attack an act of evil. 15 innocent people were killed, including a 10-year-old, a rabbi, and a Holocaust survivor. At least 40 people are in hospital with injuries, including 2 police officers, and that extraordinary bystander you mentioned who tackled the older gunman to alter the circumstances and saved lives by doing so. Joan, Savannah?
Janice, what are we learning from authorities at this point about the father and son suspects in the shooting?
Well, ABC Australia is now citing police as identifying the suspects as a father and son, Sajid Akram, 50, who was killed during the incident, and Naveed Akram, 24, who is hospitalized. The father was a licensed gun owner with 6 registered weapons, and according to security officials quoted by news agencies, the son, Naveed, was known to authorities. He was allegedly being investigated for aligning with radical views, but was not deemed to be an immediate threat. Investigators raided a home in the western suburbs of Sydney, believed to be connected to the attack. Forensic experts were seen arriving in full protective gear. And in addition to the weapons and ammunition found in a car, investigators say they also discovered pipe bombs. Savannah?
Janice, you mentioned, and we showed you this extraordinary moment when the bystander put his life on the line to disarm one of the shooters. We could sort of see at the tail end of that video then, he puts the gun down. Perhaps he didn't want authorities to think he was the gunman. Well, then we understand after that somehow the gunman got another gun, shot him. He was taken to the hospital. What are we learning about how he's doing now?
Ahmed El Ahmed, who is a father of 2 and owns a fruit shop, was seen in cell phone videos from multiple angles, hiding behind the car and waiting for the opportunity to stop the gunman. And he did. He tackled him, and he was able to wrestle that gun away from the older gunman, the father. And then he turned it on him, but he didn't fire. We see the gunman slinking away. He got back to the bridge where the son was. He picked up another weapon, and they kept firing. And that's when police shot the 2 assailants. Ahmed El Ahmed was injured, said to be shot in the shoulder, and he's undergoing surgery at a Sydney hospital. He has wide-scale admiration for his bravery. He really is being hailed as a hero.
I mean, the video is it's just incredible to watch. Janice, it looks like the Australian government is looking to take a tougher stance on gun laws in the wake of this attack, right? Tell us a little bit about how they're responding, what that could.
Well, Australia's gun laws are already among the toughest in the world. The country has one of the lowest homicide rates. So mass shootings for a lot of people, like the massacre at Bondi, it's the sort of tragedy that just happens elsewhere. The government is already vowing stricter gun laws. Here's what the Prime Minister said today.
I will put on the agenda of the National Cabinet tougher gun laws, including limits on the number of guns that can be used or licensed by individuals. A review of licences over a period of time. People's circumstances change. People can be radicalised over a period of time.
Australia's Jewish leaders have been publicly urging the Australian government to do more to address what they call rising anti-Semitism in the country after protests over Israel's war in Gaza, as well as a rise in the number of reports of vandalism at Jewish sites. This was the deadliest mass shooting in Australia in almost 30 years, and there really is an overwhelming sense of shock and grief as we learn more about the victims and how this could have happened. Joe and Savannah.
Janice, thank you so much for your reporting. We do have an update this morning on another deadly shooting here in America, this one at Brown University. Overnight, authorities in Rhode Island released a man who had been identified as a person of interest in the weekend shooting. Now the search continues for the person who opened fire on students as they prepared for final exams at the Ivy League school. 2 people were killed, 9 others were injured. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has the latest from Providence.
Overnight, a stunning development in the ongoing investigation into the deadly shooting at Brown University.
We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community.
Authorities releasing the man they had detained and initially called a person of interest in the shooting that killed 2 and left 9 injured.
We didn't have enough, obviously, to be able to prosecute anybody, and so the person was released.
Hours before the announcement, I spoke with the police chief.
How confident are you that you have the suspect?
I'm pretty confident.
On Saturday, authorities released this surveillance video that shows the potential shooter walking away from the crime scene. Police say the unidentified subject in that video remains a person of interest in this case. This new video shows terrified students hiding in the library before police stormed the room. The shooting occurred Saturday afternoon inside an academic building on the Ivy League campus as students were studying for final exams.
There's people rushing past me, but I didn't realize what was going on.
Brown University junior Amith Chintalapati was walking through campus when he saw his classmate lying on the ground shot.
How did you comfort your friend?
Just kept telling him he was okay and to breathe and just wait for the EMTs to arrive.
His classmate is in stable condition and recovering in the hospital. And now the victims being remembered. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt sharing a tribute to student Ella Cook. Cook's church also honoring her on Sunday.
She was an incredible, grounded, faithful, bright light.
Moments ago, we saw about 5 police officers arrive here at the building where the shooting took place. So it's clear that the investigation continues. The mayor says there will be a heightened police presence throughout the city today. Meanwhile, Brown has canceled all classes and finals for the rest of the semester. Back to you.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much.
For more here, let's bring in NBC News law enforcement analyst Evie Pampora. She's also a former Secret Service special agent. Evie, good morning. Tough morning, a violent weekend, and a lot we want to unpack with you. Let's start with the shooting at Brown University. So there was this person of interest that was detained. They've been released. What does that mean here? Does that essentially mean that authorities are back at square one?
They're not saying too much at this moment. There was some confusion between person of interest and somebody in custody. When someone's in custody, it means they're not free to go. If you're a person of interest, you might know something, you were in the area. So based on what we're hearing from law enforcement and the press conferences they're giving, it does seem like they're looking at kind of square one. They don't have very good video footage. That's another thing that's been of a concern. Usually on campuses, and I'm an adjunct professor actually, so I'm used to the campuses. Ideally, you're going to have cameras on every entry point going in and out. So there's a question, how come you don't have that? How come that building didn't have that? The other thing that kind of concerns me with this is it's a Saturday afternoon class. So this person really, I feel like this person specifically picked this day in this class because it's Saturday afternoon.
Right.
Not a lot of students on campus. I taught weekend classes, so it's usually quite desolate and quiet. So that's another thing to think about. Why did you pick this specific day at this specific time? I think that they are looking. They're trying to get video. They did say that they're actually canvassing area, neighborhoods, homes to see if there's additional video. So I really do think that they will solve it. Mm-hmm. They will solve it. But I do think that they're trying to get a lot more information, and they may not have it. It's Providence Police is leading the investigation with the Attorney General. FBI is there to support. ATF is there to support. So they have those federal resources to help them.
It is so surprising at a major university like this that there weren't more cameras there. Yeah. So beyond trying to get more video footage, what are some of the other things that investigators are likely trying to do right now to figure out who this person is?
So I would be looking at obviously anything left behind, hair strands, clothing, any fabric on the ground, shoe prints, footprints, anything left from that person's stepping into the area. The other thing is cell phone footage. You know, if they're able to target what cell phones came into the building, checking the identity of the people with the cell phone, there's great ways to do that where you can check the towers when somebody's cell phone pings off of towers. So who was in that area? The one positive thing is because it is a Saturday afternoon and it's not busy, you're not going to be looking at as many people as you would on a weekday.
Let's switch gears here now and talk about the mass shooting at Bondi Beach in Australia. I'm wondering your observations on law enforcement presence, response time. It unfolded over what seemed like quite a while. What did you make of that?
Right. The reports are saying about 9 minutes of this, 9 minutes of shooting. That is an eternity when it comes to something like this. So the response time, again, you're looking at a beach. There's a lot of people there. We saw the footage, people running. So I don't know where law enforcement was exactly and if they had the capability of responding. So there seems to be quite a delay there, especially if there's services being there. We know that this was a Hanukkah event, that there were Jewish people there. So was there no local authorities? I mean, even here in New York City, anytime there's events, especially because of how the world is right now, you'll see police presence at a lot of religious places or events. So that's an area, that's something of a concern. And you see a civilian jumping in there to do something. That's how long it took for police to get there. And you're looking at them just, even in this scenario, I mean, these shooters, they didn't care who they shot. I mean, they're just targeting massive amounts of people. You're looking at a beach. This is an open area, so they're not really caring who goes down or not in a scenario like this. I think they're going to look at what's interesting with the shooter is he came in 1998 on a visa, and then that visa converted to a different one, and then I believe a resident returning visa. And they talked about, we heard the prime minister before talking about weapons. So from what I understand, allegedly he had multiple guns. He had access to guns. He was part, allegedly, of a hunting club, so he was a hunter. So if you watch some of the footage of them shooting, you could see very tactical, very fast with the weapon, bolt action. So this is somebody who had a lot of practice, and I think this was planned for quite a bit. They also had an apartment nearby or an area nearby. So this is something that they really thought of. And then also possible Islamic ties or terror ties to IS. And so that's something else that they're looking at. I do know that the son allegedly had been on the radar for law enforcement. So that's going to come up. He was on the radar, then off. Why was he taken off?
Well, we have you. We do want to ask you about this tragedy. We began the hour with Rob Reiner and his wife stabbed. Obviously, a lot of questions about this, including who made that call to paramedics initially in the afternoon. What do you think the investigation is focusing on right now?
So when we looked at the aerial view earlier on when we saw the reporting, you're looking at a house that's confined. It appears that there's walls. It's secure. The first thing you're going to look at is there any point? What are the points of entry? Any breaking and entering? Was there any forced entry? If there isn't, this person appears to be invited in, then it would be like, who do they know? Who did they let in? So I would also be looking at surveillance cameras from outside in the area going in. The other thing is this is a stabbing. Stabbing tends to be very personal, intimate. And then the other thing, it's two people that were stabbed, is what we're hearing. So is it one individual taking on two people stabbing? That would be an immense amount of power. Were they in separate parts of the house? That's what I would be looking at.
Aviv Hamporis, thank you very much for being with us on a very busy news morning. We appreciate it.
This morning, 69 million Americans from the Great Lakes to the East Coast are waking up under cold weather alerts. Overnight temperatures throughout the Midwest and Northeast fell to the single digits. We don't have to tell you that. Today's high temperatures in that region could be 15 to 20 degrees below normal.
And in western New York, they're getting blanketed with more lake effect snow this morning. Forecasters are saying parts of that area could get an additional 7 inches of snow just today, and then with more falling throughout the week. All this wreaking havoc on the roads with reports of accidents and stuck cars throughout the Northeast. In eastern Pennsylvania, over a foot of snow fell on the usually bustling highways, bringing them to a standstill. And then we're seeing ripple effects. Of course, flights across the country. 9,000 flights were delayed on Sunday and more than 1,400 canceled altogether.
NBC News meteorologist Andrea Romero will join us with your forecast in just a moment. First, though, NBC News correspondent Sam Brock's just outside of New York City in Hartsdale and joins us with the latest. So, Sam, first, our apologies. We're sorry you're out there, but tell us, what's it like where you are this morning?
Do you mean that, Joe, or are you just saying that? Joe, Savannah, good morning. Great to be with you guys. We are starting our day right now. 17 degrees in Hartsdale. This feels amazing, guys. What am I complaining about? Do you know what it is in Chicago at the moment? 8 degrees, and it feels like -7 with wind chill. So what's some, teen level temperatures and some fresh snow here in Hartsdale? Why would that bother us? So about 5+ inches. You look behind me, you'll see a lot of the roads, guys, have been cleared here. A lot of these local roads in the Hudson River Valley. 5 to 10 inches throughout the tri-state area. Freehold, New Jersey, close to the high point on that, almost 10 inches. But if I transport you about 5 hours north from where I'm standing to Rochester, New York, Savannah was just talking about this a second ago. The lake effects there, so extreme. You're looking at 20+ inches of snow in parts of northern and western New York. That is also true, guys. If you go to Perrysburg, New York, that was the high across this entire snowfall, almost 24 inches. This is also the first significant snowfall for so many major metropolitan areas, whether it's New York, Boston, or Philadelphia. First snowfall of the year for all of those cities. I will tell you, though, the start of winter hasn't even arrived yet. That's December 21st. But the -9 and -7 wind chills that our staff tells us were recorded in New York and Boston over the weekend suggest otherwise, guys. But yes, it is not officially winter yet.
Wow, I did not realize that because it's felt like it for some time. Sam, travel-wise, flights, is that going to look any better today?
Much better to start the day, Savannah. You are under 1,000 total delays so far, a couple hundred cancellations, reversing that 24 hours. Look, I was flying into JFK yesterday, and the entire area was just blanketed in snow. The totals for the nation, almost 10,000 delays and roughly, several thousand cancellations. I think it was 1,500 cancellations, right? So that was a substantial figure there. Much better conditions to start off today.
And Sam, it was so cold in Chicago, some Hardy Bear fans actually left their game early. Others, I'm guessing, had their shirts off. So, probably a little bit of both. But real quick, just tell us how bad it was there.
I just applaud them for going in the first place. But I've been to a game at Soldier Field. I can tell you it is very cold in the winter. This was an all-timer, 8 degrees at kickoff, -10 wind chill. One of the 5 coldest games ever played at Soldier Field, and yet thousands of fans did stick it out. Some others decided to bolt. Fans we spoke with said that they were layered up in at least 3 or 4 different layers. Here's the good news, and you don't always get to say this as a Bears fan. They won. They beat the Browns. So if you're going to expend all of that energy literally going out to the football field, at least to come away with a victory, guys.
It warmed their hearts. So there you go. All right. Sam Brock, stay warm.
Truly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. All right, let's get a closer look at this winter weather with your Morning News Now forecast.
Meteorologist Andrea Romero joins us now. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. And it is dangerous cold that's gripping the eastern part of the country as we can see these cold weather alerts that are extending all the way from the Great Lakes into the Northeast and even here into the South. We're talking about wind chills that are going to be in the single digits, the teens, the 20s. We could see some improvement by tomorrow morning, but the cold will definitely stick around throughout the day. We can see some of these cold temperatures right now. And of course, we're focusing on the wind chill because that's how it feels out there. 7 degrees in New York and Raleigh, 15 degrees this morning in Nashville, 4 degrees. So it's quite cold out there. Along with the cold weather, of course, we continue to see some snow in the Great Lakes. We have this quick cluster of snow that's crossing the Great Lakes, bringing more snow to the area. We have those blustery winds up to 35 miles per hour. And we can see additional snowfall totals of maybe 1 to even 5 inches, especially here in this area where we have those winter weather advisories, those lake effect snow warnings from Syracuse into Watertown. We're expecting those higher accumulations. Now we flip the map and we go out west. It remains quite active. We continue to see that atmospheric river continue to bring lots of rain to that area. We have one front that's crossing through the Pacific Northwest today, bringing that heavy rain and also those strong gusty winds, 50 miles per hour. We have another system moving in tomorrow with heavy mountain snow anticipating. And then we're expecting those showers to stretch into the northern Rockies with flash flooding and landslide risks in place. We're looking at rainfall forecast totals of maybe up to 8 inches, stretching all the way from Northern California into Washington state. And that's through Wednesday. We have those flood alerts through Thursday Saturday evening due to that elevated risk of flash floods and landslides for that area. And of course, the wind alerts. 10 million people are at risk of those destructive wind gusts of up to 50 to 60 miles per hour. The good news as far as the temperatures is that we do have some record warmth in the west, and some of that warm air is going to be moving into the east and will begin to moderate those temperatures as well throughout the week. And we're looking at temperatures that might be in the 60s as highs in Nashville on Thursday, as well as in Myrtle Beach, which sounds quite pleasant considering that the temperatures are so cold today.
40s in the upper Midwest. They'll be back in their T-shirts.
Yes, they will.
Thank you.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, we will have continuing coverage of the mass shooting at Brown University. We'll have the latest, including reaction from President Trump.
Also after the break, developing news from overseas. Ukraine's president signaling a shift in the efforts to end the war with Russia. We'll be right back. We are back with the latest from the White House. We are hearing from President Trump on several of these violent events from over the weekend, including the Brown University shooting in Rhode Island that killed 2 students. We also have a new NBC News Decision Desk poll that found that President Trump's approval rating remains steadily underwater as he nears 1 full year back in office. We have NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba joining us now from Washington with more on this. Monica, good morning. So there was some of these comments that we were going to play there, what the president had to say about the shooting at Brown over the weekend. What was that?
Yes, Savannah, and all throughout the course of Saturday, the president was monitoring the situation. He was even providing some updates in real time that he had to walk back. He said at one point there had been a suspect in custody, but that then Brown University police reversed that and said that there wasn't, before eventually there was someone that, of course, now we know, again, a person of interest has been released at this time. So there was a lot of that information that was flying. And then yesterday, the president was holding a Christmas reception at the White House, and he opened his remarks by acknowledging the shooting, not just there, but also on Bondi Beach. And I think we do now have that sound. So here's a little bit of what the president had to say about the Brown University shooting.
Things can happen. So to the 9 injured, get well fast. And to the families of those 2 that are no longer with us, I pay my deepest regards and respects from the United States of America.
The president has continued to offer his thoughts and prayers on that. And then we saw this morning that White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt offered her condolences to one of the people who was killed in that shooting. And she said her heart was breaking, not just, of course, for her friends, but also for her family and for her parents.
Monica, we also heard from the president about an attack on U.S. troops in Syria over the weekend. He blamed ISIS for this attack, but can you tell us the details here? What exactly happened? Is that something that we're hearing from the Pentagon as well? And do we expect any retaliation here?
We're learning a little bit more information about where this happened, and it was in an area in Syria that is not within the control of the interim president of that country. So this is an area in which, according to the Pentagon and the White House, this was, it appears, a lone ISIS gunman that did attack those U.S. service members. And then, according to the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, it was U.S. partner forces that ended up taking out the gunman. But we understand, again, according to the White House and the Defense Department, that these U.S. service members were engaged in a counterterrorism operation. They were engaging in that, again, in that area where ISIS is known to be present. And the president is vowing fierce retaliation. He hasn't detailed any kind of specifics of what that's going to look like or when that might happen. But he did reiterate that a couple of times over the weekend. So we'll see when that actually happens. But these are the first known U.S. service members to be killed overseas during the president's second term in office. Savannah.
Monica, also, I mentioned our new poll that found that the president's approval rating, it remains low as he's about to hit 1 full year back in office. What were some of the other big findings here? Maybe anything that kind of explains this job approval number?
I think a couple of things, and they are related to the economy, but to the overall feeling, which we ask in these polls repeatedly over the years and of all administrations, which is when you ask people if you feel the country is essentially on the right track or if things are going in the right direction, there are now more people who feel that it's not. And they're expressing that, and they are saying 64% of them that the United States is, quote, on the wrong track compared to 36% on the right track. And then the other big part of this is this conversation we've been having for weeks and months about affordability. And the president has been very defensive of his own economic records. But when you look at people compared to a year ago, when they assess their own personal financial situation, 35% say it's worse, 24% say it's better, but about 41% say it's still the same. You know, this is a conversation we're just going to keep having all the way up until and after, for sure, the midterms. Savannah.
Absolutely. Monica Alba, thank you very much. Well, U.S. officials are set to continue peace talks today with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, just after he signaled a major shift in his efforts to end the ongoing war with Russia. So President Zelensky told reporters in a WhatsApp chat yesterday that he is now willing to abandon hopes of joining the NATO military alliance in exchange for Western security guarantees. That is a significant change for the president, who's been trying to join NATO for years as a safeguard against Russian attacks. Let's bring in NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel for the latest here. Richard, good morning. So big news here. President Zelensky saying these security guarantees from the U.S. and other allies would be a compromise for his nation instead of a NATO membership. If you could just sort of put in context, Richard, what that means or what the difference would be between security guarantees or NATO membership and what exactly it is that he is asking for from those guarantees.
So you're asking the questions that are really at the core of the potential peace dispute, so or peace resolution, the core of this conflict, I should say. So almost 4 years ago exactly, Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Even though Vladimir Putin said he wasn't doing it, he was just carrying out military exercises, and the Ukrainians, including Zelensky, were initially in denial. And one of the main reasons that Russia, Putin specifically, said that he was invading is because NATO was going to expand, NATO was going to push right up to Russia's borders, and that Ukraine was one day going to join NATO, and that he better take this preemptive action in order to block Ukraine from ever joining NATO. So there is a chicken and the egg scenario here. Then once the invasion happened, and the invasion was not initially successful to Putin's likings, he wanted to take over all of Ukraine at once. Then Zelensky insisted, well, the only way we can prevent this invasion from happening again is to be part of NATO, because if Ukraine were part of NATO, NATO has a collective security agreement that Ukraine would therefore be safe. So for Putin, NATO membership is a cause to attack. For Zelensky, NATO membership is a security blanket. And this different perspective, radically different perspective, has been at a core of this deadlock that has made it very difficult to reach a peace deal. In this extraordinary move, Zelensky said, forget it, fine, don't need to be in NATO, part of NATO, which was one of Vladimir Putin's core demands, but in exchange, we need security guarantees. Now, we don't know exactly what those security guarantees are like, but European nations have suggested NATO-like. That's the phraseology they use, security guarantees. And in NATO, it's very simple. An attack on one is an attack on all. If France is attacked, France is a NATO country, the United States, which is the core of the NATO, defends France. They want something similar to that, but Zelensky said, NATO is not looking likely. He can give up on it. President Trump has already said he wouldn't accept NATO, and another NATO member, as Hungary, has also said the same.
And Richard, quickly just tell us, like, how big of a deal could this be for President Putin? How much of a breakthrough could this be?
Well, I think Putin had probably already taken this for granted, because President Trump had said time and time again, it's never going to happen. And if the NATO members themselves don't want you to join, then you are not going to join the coalition. But it is a major concession. It shows flexibility. President Trump has been railing on President Zelensky that he hasn't shown flexibility, that he needs to, quote, get realistic. And it wasn't entirely bad. It hasn't been a bad several days of negotiations for the Ukrainians, because critically, the EU changed some of its laws to freeze more than $200 billion, around $250 billion in frozen Russian assets to permanently freeze them. And now Ukraine wants to take that money, now frozen, and spend it to defend Ukraine. So they gave up something they probably didn't really have, and they may have gotten access to more than $200 billion in Russian assets.
Richard Engel, as always, I appreciate your reporting. Thank you so much. Coming up, continuing coverage on that breaking news we brought you at the top of this hour. Actor and director Robert Reiner and his wife found dead with what appear to be stab wounds. We'll bring you the latest on the investigation, plus a look back at Reiner's storied career. This is Morning News Now. We want to get an update on a story we have been following all morning, the death of actor-director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer. They were found dead of apparent stab wounds in their Los Angeles home yesterday afternoon, according to a source close to the family. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky is near the Reiners' home. He joins us with the latest here. Morgan, good morning. Such a disturbing story. Bring us up to date on what we know so far.
Yeah, Savannah, incredibly active scene here in Brentwood where Reiner lived with his wife. We know that multiple areas here, as you can see, blocked off with crime scene tape. And if we look down this way, Savannah, just in front of the home of Reiner, you can see that crime scene unit that's been there the better part of tonight as detectives continue to scour the scene in hopes of learning more about the circumstances that could have led to 78-year-old Reiner and his wife being allegedly fatally stabbed inside their home. That initial call, Savannah, came from firefighters and paramedics around 3:30 after discovering the bodies that the Reiner family has now confirmed belonged to Rob Reiner and his wife. There are so many questions right now. LAPD stopping short of calling this a homicide investigation, instead labeling it a death investigation until they learn more. And that means they're not naming any suspect or potential person of interest at this time. Savannah?
Morgan, do we know what their process is for that right now in terms of anybody that they're interviewing, anything that they're hearing?
According to LAPD, they are executing a search warrant on the premises of Reiner's home. They've also said that they plan to speak to every member of the Reiner family in hopes of learning more. They're calling this very early on in this process, calling this a very active investigation. We did hear from an officer last night at the press conference where he said that the surrounding neighborhood did not need to be alarmed for any potential risk on that front. And while that may be reassuring to people who live in this area, the stunning loss of such a Hollywood icon is absolutely sending shockwaves throughout the community this morning.
Certainly. Morgan Chesky, thank you very much. Well, now let's take a look at Rob Reiner's long and celebrated career. We're going to bring in our friend, entertainment journalist and pop culture expert, Brian Balthazar. Brian, thank you for being with us. I mean, just a horrible story. And from the small screen to the silver screen, Rob Reiner had such an impact really on culture. Let's start with the movies that he directed. I mean, they show he was just a master of really a range of genres. Tell us some of his biggest achievements in filmmaking, some of these movies that we all know.
Yeah, well, it's a long list, and so many of them are emotional landmarks for so many of us. When Harry Met Sally is one of the first that comes to mind. He really defined genres in his films, and that would have established the tone of romantic comedy. And then, of course, Misery, that's a surprising. We're in Harry Met Sally. This is the iconic scene that you're seeing right here. You know, this is a story that it impacted his decision, his relationship with his wife, impacted his decision on how this film would end. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot of people playing this movie this season, this holiday season. So I'm not going to say why, but the ending was shaped by his relationship with his wife. This is Spinal Tap. You know, the reason we see shows like The Office and Modern Family that use this kind of mock documentary style is because this is Spinal Tap really set the precedent. Amazing. Then you have The Princess Bride is another example. This was one that wasn't immediately successful, but such unique characters and such unique storytelling. There's a quote here that is repeated often in this scene for generations to come, and it became kind of a viral hit over the years. You know, very different genres, but what you see here is that he didn't go for blockbusters and spectacle. He went for character and human story and nuance and quirks. And that's what was part of what made him such an incredible director and storyteller.
Brian, actually, he first found fame as an actor, which, you know, is always, I think, just such a sign of somebody's talent that they can do both, right? They're directing such huge hits, and then they're also appearing in some, including in the 70s, the sitcom All in the Family, that really was sort of a political groundbreaking show for the time. Tell us the impact that had and what that sort of did early on in his career for his stardom.
Well, it really did change the way that we talk about politics and tough topics and the way we saw them told on television. So it was a really groundbreaking show, and his character Meathead, you know, how we define Meathead now is different. Back then it was about him kind of being an overeducated liberal who Archie Bunker's character would lash out against. This is what kind of sparked his own ability to balance his own professional life and activism, because activism was not a side project for him. It was a very big part of his life that carried through to the very, very end of this incredible life that he's had.
And he was also still very active, right? I mean, he had a new movie come out, was recently even in an episode, I think a few episodes of The Bear. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, you know, he doesn't chase relevance. Relevance follows him. You know, he's been in The Bear as a side character, which is really an amazing thing to see. And of course, you know, this is Spinal Tap 2, 40 years after the original, back in theaters this past September. And I just have to share a quick personal story. He was one of the quickest witted people I've ever met. I interviewed him once. And at the end of the interview, I asked him, what is a question that you've never been asked? And without missing a beat, he went, my inseam. And so, and I just remember thinking, who could come up with an answer that quick? But this is a man who is incredibly gifted, incredibly quick-witted, and he really believed in connection between people. And that's why it's reflected in his activism. It's reflected in his storytelling. And this is such an incredible loss for so many people. All of us lose something today by losing Rob Reiner.
Well, absolutely. And we certainly appreciate those anecdotes. Brian helps us understand the man. We appreciate it. Good to see you. Thanks, Brian. Well, in our other top story this morning, the Australian government says it is vowing to crack down on guns and anti-Semitism in the wake of one of its worst mass shootings in decades. At least 15 people were killed yesterday when two gunmen opened fire at a Jewish celebration at Sydney's famous Bondi Beach. Authorities have described the shooting, which left a 10-year-old girl and a rabbi dead, as a terror attack. Police say the suspects are a father-son duo. They say the father was fatally shot on the scene while the son was hospitalized with critical injuries. Meanwhile, the family of a 43-year-old Muslim fruit shop owner who was hailed a hero. You might have seen the video of him disarming one of the shooters. They say he's recovering in the hospital after undergoing surgery for bullet wounds after he was shot. And then in yet another horrible and violent event, now back here at home, we are following developments from Rhode Island, where the manhunt for a suspect in the shooting at Brown University continues. Authorities say the gunman is still at large this morning after police released a person detained in connection to the shooting overnight. Well, a suspect dressed in black killed 2 people and wounded 9 others as they prepared for final exams on campus on Saturday. Authorities released a surveillance video that you're seeing on your screen right now. They say they think it shows the potential shooter walking away from the scene. Police say he remains a person of interest in this case. Brown University has canceled classes and exams as this investigation continues. We will stay on this all morning. Coming up, Money Matters, a new NBC News poll shows the economy is the top concern for Americans. We will break down the findings. That is next on Morning News Now. We are back with a new NBC News Decision Desk poll revealing that the economy remains a top concern for Americans. Maybe no surprise there, but we've got NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans at the big board to break down some of the biggest findings out of this poll. Christine, good morning. So first, just like obviously this has been a concern pre-election, during the election, post-election. How are people feeling about their finances this year compared with last year? Let's start there.
It's just so illuminating, this poll. It shows us that the economy, their money, is issue number one for so many American families. Less than a quarter of people we surveyed said they feel better today about how things are going in their personal financial situation. 41% about the same. 35% say they feel worse today about the economy, about their money than they did a year ago.
And what are the top issues that they say they're facing right now?
It didn't really surprise me. Cost of housing. This has been really difficult. You know, the average age of a first-time home buyer, median age of a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. People can't get into that important step in wealth creation inflation, cost of food, 18%, and then healthcare, 17%. And as you know, we are facing basically a cliff here at the end of this year where healthcare costs for anybody who's getting healthcare on the Affordable Care Act, on those Obamacare exchanges, will see very significant increases in the cost of healthcare. This is all weighing on people's minds.
What about when it comes to, like, if we bracket this out by income? How lower income, middle, higher income, how's everybody feeling individually?
We asked this question because we know that there's something that economists call a K-shaped economy. What does that mean? Think of the letter K. There's one line that's going up and one line that's going down. And that line going up is people who make over $100,000 a year. Look, they say they're either better today or about the same. 75% say they're better today or about the same. Let's go down the income bracket, and you can see that entire story shifts. You can see that if you make less than $50,000 a year, that's almost that same share is more than that share is worse today or about the same. 50 to 100,000, about the same. 34% say they are worse today. So you can see that K-shaped economy. It sounds sort of wonky, but what it means is people with money, with stock market investments, with home equity, those people are feeling fine about the economy. Everybody else, they're worried about housing, they're worried about healthcare, they're worried about grocery prices.
Christine, how are people, like, managing the fact that they feel this way? Are they making different decisions with their money about how they're doing things?
They are. If you're on that lower mark of the K-shaped economy, 65% of people making less than $50,000 a year, they're changing what groceries they buy. You know, the grocery store bill has been a real problem, and cutting back on extras and entertainment to afford needs. You could see that share is much, much smaller the more money that you make.
Absolutely. What about the holidays? How are people planning to spend?
Yeah, this is fascinating, too. You can see people who make under $100,000 a year, a majority of them think that they're going to spend less this year. But if you look at people who make $100,000 a year more, nope, they're just hanging in here just fine. And they may actually be spending about the same or more. So really, you can see cost of living, issue number one, and it's not just groceries. You know, you've got a little bit of a benefit from lower gas prices, but so many other things, costs have been rising, and non-negotiable costs like insurance, right? Like housing, like healthcare. Those are things you can't skimp on.
No kidding. All right, Christine, thank you so much.
Great to see you.
Stuff there. Let's stay on Wall Street. The big tech name behind the iconic Roomba vacuum is filing for bankruptcy. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has our Money Minute. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. The household tech pioneer is hitting the reset button. iRobot has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, saying it will go private after being bought by its main manufacturer. Despite strong market share, cheaper rivals and tariffs have squeezed profits and driven debt to about $190 million. However, iRobot says this is not expected to disrupt app functionality, customer programs, or product support. And a glimpse of the future may already be cruising the streets of Texas. A video in Austin posted this weekend appears to show a Tesla robotaxi driving with no one inside. CEO Elon Musk confirmed the company is now testing driverless taxis without human safety monitors, though it seems not yet for paying riders. Last week, Musk said Tesla would remove human safety monitors from its robotaxis by the end of the year. Finally, vinyl records are spinning back into style, and Gen Z is driving the comeback. Vinyl sales have grown significantly in recent years, with roughly 60% of Gen Z saying they buy records, even though about 40% of buyers don't own a turntable. Many young fans are treating vinyl as collectible art, fueled by colorful options and limited editions. And more artists are offering vinyls now, too. Artists like Taylor Swift, whose albums topped U.S. vinyl sales last year. And Savannah, I have to admit, I'm not Gen Z, but my walls are filled with vinyls.
Oh, do you have a turntable?
I do. Okay, I love it. And I have a lot of my
I'm worried about the people that don't.
What are you up to? Thanks, Emily.
Coming up on Morning News Now, some much-needed holiday hope.
They need extra training here or there or help, but once they get it, they got it. And they can do the job just as good as anyone else.
Up next, we're going to take you to a Christmas tree lot in Southern California that is spreading cheer in a special way. We'll be right back.
Finally this hour, a story about the owner of a Christmas tree farm in Anaheim, California. He's doing much more than spreading holiday cheer. He's creating job opportunities for people with autism.
Amber Frias from NBC Los Angeles has this heartwarming story.
At first look, Rogers' Christmas tree lot looks like any other. Rows of trees in every shape, size, and even color. The smell of pine in the air and families searching for the perfect tree. But this lot is rooted in something deeper.
It started and still going on is to help. It's with a purpose.
Tyrone Rogers, a former Seattle Seahawks player, started the business 30 years ago to provide jobs for people who had been formerly incarcerated and couldn't find jobs. 10 years ago, when his son was diagnosed with autism, his mission evolved.
I'm thinking about my son when he get older, what's opportunity for him.
He decided he wanted to create opportunities for people like his son. And today, Rogers hires 10 young adults each year, all on the spectrum, to help run the tree lot.
Just seeing all the people, customers smile, the kids.
For employees like Jose Garcia, the job means more than seasonal work.
I like supporting my family, help them out. I have brothers and sisters, and we all help together.
For Clement Victor and Noah Gertie, it's about learning new skills and building confidence.
My skills that I've learned is how to tie down trees, how to build the bows, and to put them on the trees.
It helps me with my people skills.
Rogers says understanding and patience makes a difference.
May need extra training here or there or help, but once they get it, they got it, and they can do the job just as good as anyone else.
So while customers come to Rogers' Christmas tree lot for a tree, many leave supporting a bigger cause, a business built on second chances, inclusion, and purpose.
And our thanks to Amber Frias for bringing us that story. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
Breaking right now on Morning News Now, Hollywood tragedy. Filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner found dead in his L.A. home, along with his wife, Michelle. A source close to the family tells us. More on that investigation in just a moment. Plus, the tributes now pouring in to a legend of the screen who directed some of our most loved films. Also this morning, the desperate search for answers after at least 15 people were killed at a seaside Hanukkah celebration at Australia's famous Bondi Beach. Authorities calling it a terrorist attack designed to target Jewish people. What we know about the father and son duo who are the two suspects, and how the country is reacting to its worst mass shooting in decades. Well, back here at home, an Ivy League community races to catch a killer. This after a reported person of interest is released by police following the shooting at Brown University that left at least 2 students dead. Plus, another blustery 1-2 punch from Mother Nature. Millions of Americans waking up to below freezing temps on the heels of the first major snowstorm of the season for some, like right here in New York. It's all whipping up some treacherous conditions on the roads just in time for your Monday commute. We have got your full forecast. And later in the hour, why America's great penny pinch is leaving some retailers and customers shortchanged this holiday season.
It is a very busy news morning. Thank you very much for joining us this Monday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. We are going to start this hour with that tragic breaking news from overnight. Famed filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer, his wife of 36 years, were found stabbed to death in their home in Los Angeles yesterday. That is according to a source close to the family.
So far, police are not officially confirming their deaths. They are only saying that they found 2 bodies inside the home while they were responding to a call at the house. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky is following this story and has the latest from the scene. Morgan, good morning.
This morning, Hollywood mourning the loss of legendary film director Rob Reiner. Reiner and his wife Michelle were found dead in their Los Angeles home from apparent stab wounds, according to a source close to the family. Overnight, police only saying they found a 78-year-old man and a 68-year-old woman in the Reiner's home, and that the LAPD is investigating it as an apparent homicide.
We're calling it a death investigation at this point. We have to obtain a search warrant for the residence. As soon as that is complied with, we will be conducting a full crime scene investigation.
Authorities responding to a call around 3:40 Sunday afternoon.
Verifying we have 2 cardiac arrests.
Once inside the Reiner's home, they discovered the 2 people deceased. Authorities saying they do not have a suspect or a person of interest at this time.
We've already been canvassing the neighborhood and speaking to residents that live around this area. There's been no reports from the neighbors regarding hearing anything or seeing anything that we can release to the public.
Overnight, police canvassing the affluent Brentwood neighborhood. with investigators saying they intend to speak to every member of the Reiner family to, quote, get to the facts of the investigation.
There are going to be many family members interviewed.
Reiner first gained fame as Archie Bunker's son-in-law, nicknamed Meathead, on All in the Family.
You're Mr. Bunker. You figured that out, huh?
But went on to a prolific career in his own right as a writer and director, with countless beloved films, from This Is Spinal Tap.
Put it up to
11, exactly.
You love me too.
To When Harry Met Sally. To Stand By Me, and A Few Good Men.
I'm a lawyer and an officer in the United States Navy, and you're under arrest.
The Reiner family confirmed their deaths in a statement writing, "We are heartbroken by this sudden loss, and we ask for privacy during this unbelievably difficult time." Now an investigation's underway with many unanswered questions about the death of a Hollywood icon.
Our thanks to Morgan Chesky for that report. Well, for more on Reiner's career, let's get two more, with Dave Karger. He's the author of the book 50 Oscar Nights, Iconic Stars and Filmmakers on Their Career-Defining Wins, and also a host on Turner Classic Movies. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. So, I mean, Rob Reiner was involved in making some of the greatest films, as we just heard there, also being himself acting in groundbreaking television shows. What do you think his legacy will be?
I think his career is remarkable because of the trajectory it had. Just like you said, this was a guy who was the son of a comedic legend, Carl Reiner, and he did start off as a writer and then transition to acting with this iconic role as Meathead in All in the Family, which was one of the most important sitcoms of the 1970s, won 2 Emmys for his performance as that character, which was such an important character on the show. But he didn't stop there. That was just the beginning, as Morgan just said in the piece. His filmography, particularly if you look at the movies he made in a run from the mid-1980s to the mid-1990s, it's remarkable. Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, Misery, When Harry Met Sally, Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, The American President, movies that, for people of my generation, kind of the Gen X generation, among the favorites all time for so many people, and such quotable lines. These go to 11, you can't handle the truth, my name is Inigo Montoya, I'll have what she's having. I mean, he might have not have written all of those movies, but he was responsible for bringing those iconic liners to the screen.
Princess Bride, one of the all-time great movies, and of course, I'll Have What She's Having, was his mom who delivered that iconic line in When Harry Met Sally. What's interesting, Dave, is that, you know, his only Oscar nomination for Best Director was for A Few Good Men, and he didn't win that. So he didn't really have much luck when it came to awards. But as you mentioned, the films he made left such an impression. You look at This Is Spinal Tap, which was sort of the first real mockumentary, something we see all over the place today, right, including in the sequel we saw this year. I mean, that's the lasting legacy, isn't it?
For sure. Joe, you know what? His Oscar nomination was for Best Picture for producing. He never even got a Best Director nomination. Wow. And I think that speaks to the fact that he was so underappreciated as a filmmaker, even in a year where his movie, A Few Good Men, got a Best Picture nomination, and he was one of the producers as well as the director. He didn't even get a Best Director nomination from the director's branch. Like, I don't feel like people really at the time respected him as a filmmaker. But I do think you're right. Spinal Tap was this interesting bookend, sadly, to his film career. It was kind of the big breakthrough in the mid-'80s. And then it was the sequel that just came out a couple of months ago. I interviewed him earlier this year. He and Kathy Bates came to our TCM Film Festival for a 35th anniversary screening of Misery. And he was so excited about this new Spinal Tap movie. And he was vibrant and vital as ever, and had a great reunion with Kathy Bates. They hadn't seen each other in a while. So it was, he's someone who we're going to, I think, be reevaluating now, sadly. And I think realizing when you look at that run of films from the mid-'80s to the mid-'90s, I mean, Ron Howard, Steven Spielberg, Rob Reiner, I think those 3 guys really put together lists of films that will endure like no one else.
Dave, can you tell us a little bit more about meeting him, about interviewing him, just a sense of what he was like, any anecdotes from that time?
Yeah, I mean, he walked in and he, of course, was there for Misery, right? Because we were showing this 35th anniversary. But he was just so happy to be there, feeding off the energy of the crowd. We had a big audience watching the movie Misery, and then we did the onstage Q&A afterwards. And he was just so excited to hear the crowd laughing at Misery, which, is known as a horror movie, but of course it has these funny moments in there. And he was so proud of Kathy Bates, even though they hadn't seen each other in a while. He just was complimenting her on all of the recent success that she's had on TV with Matlock, and he was just very sweet to her, and it was a thrill to spend a little bit of time with him on stage as someone who had, watching so many of his great films.
Yeah.
And as you know, Dave, his father was an icon as well, Carl Reiner, who just passed away a few years ago. Obviously, you could say, it might have been easy. He was Carl Reiner's son, but Rob Reiner really carved his own path in Hollywood, didn't he?
Oh my gosh. I mean, to say that he stepped out from the shadow of his famous father is like such an understatement. I think there's so many people who know who Rob Reiner is who maybe didn't know who Carl Reiner was. And that's really because of not only the acting that he did on All in the Family, but also, as we've been talking about, this filmography. It's unparalleled.
Dave Karger, thank you so much for joining us on this morning, and we appreciate you sharing some of those personal stories. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, this morning, people in Australia are mourning the loss of at least 15 people who were killed in one of the country's worst mass shootings in decades. It happened yesterday at a Jewish celebration in Sydney's Bondi Beach. Authorities are calling it a terror attack and say the suspects are a father-son duo. Correspondent Sarah James has the latest from Sydney.
An ongoing vigil as those around this community come to pay their respects and to say what happens next after this horror attack. Australia's Jewish community in mourning and the nation in shock after a seaside celebration of the Festival of Light became one of the darkest days in Australian history. Two gunmen opened fire on a peaceful Hanukkah gathering. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation says police identified the gunman as Sajid Akram, who died at the scene, and his 24-year-old son Naveed, who remains in custody at the hospital. Authorities saying the younger man's name had come up in a previous investigation in 2019. The massacre claimed 15 lives, a 10-year-old girl, a former police officer, two well-known rabbis.
The life was like leaving him, and then he just went.
Also killed, an 87-year-old Holocaust survivor who came to this idyllic spot to find peace and whose last act was to shield his wife. The horror attack has left dozens in the hospital. But officials say it would have been worse if not for Ahmed Al-Ahmed. The Sydney shopkeeper and Syrian immigrant tackled a gunman single-handed. He remains in the hospital after being shot, his parents proud. Hailed as a hero around the world.
And saved a lot of lives, so very brave person.
Some here asking how the alleged gunman amassed an arsenal in a country famous for strict gun control. Australia's Prime Minister today says laws may need to be even tougher and that more will need to be done to help the nation's Jewish community. A prominent Jewish leader here, whose friend died in the attack, says his community has been warning the government of a dangerous rise in anti-Semitism.
I can't imagine a time when the Jewish community feels safe without looking over their shoulders.
The vigil continues at Bondi as those here grieve that the most famous beach in Australia is now also the most notorious. Australia's Prime Minister says there is no evidence of any wider conspiracy and that the pair were motivated by an extremist ideology.
Sarah, thank you.
Here in the U.S., there is a new development in the ongoing investigation into another tragic shooting that's rattled the tight-knit community of Providence, Rhode Island. Overnight, authorities released a person of interest detained in connection to that deadly shooting at Brown University that killed 2 people and injured 9 others on Saturday. Police say a gunman opened fire on students who were preparing for final exams.
The Providence community gathered to honor the victims with a candlelit vigil at a local park last night. Dozens of people held moments of silence for those recovering and the lives lost as they tried to process what happened.
It's unexplainable. It's hard to say. You know, we have all experienced this, unfortunately, too often from afar. But boy, when it's here, it just makes it so real.
NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin joins us now from Providence with the latest. So, Aaron, what are we hearing from Providence police about why this person of interest was released? And do we know, are there any new leads in the search for the gunman?
Well, Joe, just in the last hour or so, we saw a group of around 5 police officers arrive at the building behind me where the shooting took place. They were carrying large bags. So it's clear that this investigation is very much ongoing. In the early hours of yesterday morning, authorities had detained an individual that they called a person of interest. That person had been staying at a hotel in nearby Coventry. They detained him for hours and then announced that they were letting him go and that the shooter is still out there. Now, it's unclear at this point where that leaves this ongoing investigation. Yesterday, I was speaking with the police chief who told me that as of noon yesterday, the only footage they have of a person of interest or suspect was the surveillance footage taken from outside the building behind me, showing an individual walking away. In that footage, you cannot see his face. So it's unclear at this hour where things stand in terms of that investigation, Joe.
So, Aaron, 2 people killed, 9 others injured in this attack. What do we know at this point about the victims and the conditions of those who were injured?
Yeah, well, we know that one of the victims has been discharged from the hospital. 1 remains in critical but stable condition inside the hospital, 7 in stable condition. We are also learning about lives lost, including student Ella Cook. The White House press secretary tweeting in her memory this morning saying, quote, "There are no words, thinking of her family and friends, especially her parents. God, please bless them."
Aaron, classes and exams have understandably been canceled at Brown in the wake of this. Talk about how the school is trying to help all the students as they cope with this. Also, what they're doing to boost security, especially with the fact that the suspect is still not in custody.
Well, the mayor says there will be an increased police presence throughout the city today, although he says that this is a city that is safe, that there has been no specific threat made since this shooting. As for the university, you mentioned that finals and classes are canceled for the rest of the semester. I was speaking to some students who were scrambling to try and get out. One student actually was from Australia. He'd booked his ticket home for the end of the week after finals. He didn't know where to go, and he was really hoping that he could lean on friends for that support. But overall, I would say what we're seeing here at Brown is the community very much come together. There was that vigil that was held in a park last night, a somber candlelight vigil remembering lives lost and the victims impacted by this horrific tragedy.
Those students relying on each other now more than ever. Aaron, thank you so much for your reporting. For more, let's bring in NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter. Tom, good to have you with us. Let's talk more about this person of interest being released. How does something like this happen in such a high-profile case? What are you learning about what's been happening over these last 2 days?
Sure. So let's understand how we got here. Apparently on Saturday evening, an individual who had concerns about this person of interest in the past contacted police, talked to the Providence Police Department, which of course is where Brown is, and then they passed that lead along to the FBI. They worked together. The FBI was able to get some more information that said this isn't just a person that we should, that is a lead. This is maybe a person we should go knock on a door and see what we can find. And then there was some additional evidence that they were able to see when they took this person into custody that started to make them think we might really have our person here. And that information developed through the course of the afternoon. But then search warrants came in, more evidence came back, and by last evening it was clear at the time there were no scheduled updates, there was no further information that was going to be released. Then they call this 10:30 p.m. press conference, and by 11:15 we find out he's going to be released. So obviously a significant change in the investigation. They say the evidence has pointed them in a new direction. What direction that is, I think they're going to take some time here this morning and take some stock. So there's going to be some meetings and briefings among law enforcement this morning to just say, okay, where are we? What do we need to get? And who else should we be looking at? What other leads do we need to pursue?
Behind the scenes, what does that taking stock look like? I mean, how do you reassess when an early lead like this doesn't result in a charge?
Right. So the best investigators will tell you that the evidence always leads the investigation. And once you start to get a little bit of tunnel vision, you run into problems. And so what I think they will do is just say, look, can we bring in some fresh investigators? Can we, after a good night's sleep, and they really got no sleep Saturday and Sunday, can we just look at this with fresh eyes and say, is there anything we missed? Is there more information that we need to get? This was not just a blind lead. Somebody didn't call up and say, go look at Savannah, go look at Joe for the shooting. Like, there was more information that was developed here. But in the course of that, now they've learned more. And so there might be more pieces here that they need to try to figure out how it all fits together. They're definitely hoping for more video. They had the plea last night. The FBI has now set up a website. They are hoping that they can figure out the direction that this person took once they got out of that building at Brown. This is the best video they have. They have a couple little glimpses elsewhere, but this is by far the best video that they have. I'm not picking on it. They're working with the best they have, but that's not very great. That's not going to tell us a whole heck of a lot, that video that we're looking at on screen right now. So they really need some more. And if they can find out which direction he went, think about a year ago, guys. We were sitting here talking about the United Healthcare shooting and the person that we eventually found out to be Luigi Mangione, who's been charged in that case. They were going door to door throughout New York City trying to find a moment, and they did get lucky at that hostel where he pulled down that mask, and then we saw his face. So they're hoping that they can get some moment like that here today.
What are the biggest challenges? I mean, beyond the video, I have to imagine time. 2 days have passed now. We don't know. This person could have a good head start, right?
They could have a good head start, but they did have an opportunity yesterday to put those search warrants out there. They do have an opportunity. The FBI director tweeted about this, to have the CAS team. That's the FBI cellular analysis team. So they'll actually look at the towers, the cell towers, all around this building and figure out who was in that area at the time. And then again, if they can start to develop some information about where they went, you can start to say, okay, well, we know Tom was downtown this morning. We now know he's in Midtown. And if we start to track this person throughout the city, do we start to really narrow down that list of who it could be? And so that's the type of information they're looking for.
Power of technology. All right, Tom, thank you so much. Appreciate your report.
Thanks, Tom. Well, now to Washington with the results of a new NBC News poll that finds a growing number of Americans disapprove of President Trump's handling of major issues. It comes as the president faces challenges on multiple fronts, including a deadly attack over the weekend on American service members in the Middle East. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Hake is following all of this for us. Hey, Garrett, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. And that attack in Syria left 3 people dead, including 2 U.S. soldiers, National Guardsmen from Iowa. Now, President Trump blames ISIS for that attack. He's vowing retribution. And as he's juggling so many challenges from abroad, our new poll finds Americans are increasingly skeptical of how he's handling things here at home.
This morning, President Trump vowing retaliation after a deadly ambush-style attack on American service members in Syria.
We had 3 great patriots terminated by bad people, and not the Syrian government. It was ISIS. There will be a lot of damage done to the people that did it.
Defense officials say 2 soldiers and a civilian interpreter died when a lone gunman opened fire. 3 others were wounded during ongoing anti-ISIS operations in the country. They say American partner forces later killed the shooter. The killings marking the first known combat deaths of President Trump's second term, and come as the White House faces lingering questions about escalating U.S. operations near Venezuela, including U.S. military strikes on alleged drug trafficking boats that have killed nearly 90 people, and last week's dramatic seizure by the Coast Guard of an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast.
I don't think that the lives should be lost without a vote by Congress and the people approving of this.
The president's focus abroad comes as a growing number of Americans say they are dissatisfied with his handling of key issues in the U.S., including the economy. Nearly 2/3 of those surveyed in a new NBC News Decision Desk poll say they think the country is headed on the wrong track. And with less than a year before the midterms, a slight majority now say they trust Democrats over Republicans when it comes to handling the price of everyday items. Voters we met in Pennsylvania deeply frustrated.
He ran on lowering prices, on beating inflation.
He ain't doing it. Everything went up. Ain't nothing went down.
The president on Sunday again accusing Democrats of creating a false narrative.
Affordability, they keep saying affordability. Well, they're the ones that caused the problem.
One area many people say they're struggling with is the rising cost of health care, and those costs could rise further for millions of people come January, with Affordable Care Act subsidies set to expire. This is the last week of work for lawmakers before they head home for the holidays, the last chance to potentially prevent that. A Republican health plan is expected to get a vote in the House, but as of right now, there's not much hope on Capitol Hill for a breakthrough that could actually send a bill to the president's desk. Savannah?
All right, Garrett, thank you so much. Well, let's get to the latest on the snow and those freezing temperatures millions of us are experiencing. Here is a friendly warning. If you're getting ready to step out the door today, think about a few extra layers.
Thick layers. 69 million Americans are now under cold weather alerts from the Midwest to the East Coast. This frigid air follows the first major snowfall of the season, which blanketed much of the East Coast this weekend.
NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is just outside New York City. He's in Hartsdale. Sam, I hope you took that warning. I hope you're layered up. You look pretty good. Tell us, what did we see? What areas were impacted?
Totally, guys. So it's the type of morning where when you walk outside and you immediately say anything, you see your own breath. We began today, we're in Hartsdale, New York. It's about 40 minutes or so outside of New York City. At around 15 degrees, it has climbed up to a balmy 18 degrees. The big story right now for the region certainly is the first major snowfall of the season. When you're talking about cities like New York and Philadelphia and Boston, this is the first time so far this year that we've seen significant snowfall. Now, where we are, it's about 5+ inches, give or take. You look over my shoulder, you see the roads here have largely been cleared. We're seeing snow plows coming around, but look at that. Perrysburg, New York saw 23.7 inches, almost 2 feet. Now, granted, that's about an hour or so south of Buffalo. It's on Lake Erie. You're getting the lake effects there, but there's been just huge snow totals across the region, 5 to 10 inches in the tri-state, and you see the 4.6 inches at JFK Airport. Joe, Savannah, that is an all-time record for JFK. We know that all of this winter weather was highly disruptive for travelers over the course of this past weekend, and so that's not surprising. But as you say, be prepared for the fact that after the snow, you have these really cold temperatures. In New York, 7 degrees with wind chill, 1 degree in Washington, D.C., Chicago, -9 degrees with wind chill. Lots of folks right now sort of bracing. Yes, it sounds preposterous, but that is the reality right now for so many people living in this.
For those who grew up there, it's just winter. It's not fun, but it's what you're used to.
Sam, you look great, but you look cold. I'm just thinking about how much colder it is in other places.
Exactly. Well, you mentioned airports, Sam. We should talk more about that. I mean, a friend of mine, his flight was canceled yesterday leaving New York. Do we think the delays are going to stick around today, or do airlines hope to catch up?
Early signs are very positive. Typically, Joe, Savannah, you'll see the residuals building up after, a major day of travel issues. To start today, roughly 1,000 delays nationwide and 250 cancellations. Reverse that 24 hours ago. It was almost 10,000 delays nationwide, 1,500 plus cancellations. The airports most deeply impacted, primarily the New York airports, right? So JFK and Newark, LaGuardia, they had somewhere between 40 and 50% of all their flights delayed. Chicago O'Hare Airport as well was looking at around 1/3 to 40% of delays. Those were the most extreme examples. Things are smoothing out today. I will add for context, Joe, it's not fair for our viewers if they don't know you're from Minnesota. So yes, of course, this is called winter to you.
Not a big
but for many of us, it's not quite that simple.
That is a very good fact check right there. I think that's a fair point.
Thank you, Sam. Go get indoors, please.
Thanks,
okay. Meanwhile, on the West Coast, the torrential rain may have let up, but the cleanup effort is just beginning after those damaging floodwaters in Washington. The atmospheric river that causes thousands of evacuations and record high river flooding, ultimately that peaked late last week.
There are still no reported deaths. Officials credit emergency crews for that. Governor Bob Ferguson says they conducted more than 250 water rescues across the state. But the damage is still taking a toll on communities this morning with road closures and damage to infrastructure. Crews are now working to protect highways as western parts of Washington are bracing for even more rain in the coming days. We've got more details now with your Morning News Now weather.
Meteorologist Andrea Romero joins us with all the details. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah and Joe. And we do have more rain that's going to be moving into the western part of the country. It's not expected to be as severe as it was last week, but we are under a flood threat, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Right now, we're going to focus in on the cold temperatures that we have stretching from the Midwest into the South. 69 million people are being impacted by these cold advisories, where temperatures are feeling 15 to 20 degrees below average. We're looking at wind chill temperatures of 16 degrees in Raleigh right now, 4 degrees in Nashville, 20 degrees in Atlanta. Up north, we're looking at negative wind chills in Chicago and in Cleveland, where it feels 3 degrees below zero. We also have some lake effect snow. We do have those lake effect warnings in effect for parts here of interior New York. Wintry conditions will continue as this quick cluster of snow crosses the Great Lakes with those blustery winds. Looking additional maybe 5 inches falling from Watertown into Syracuse. Now, as far as the west, we have a front moving through today, bringing 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts, heavy rain again into the area. Tomorrow, we have yet another system that's going to be quickly following. Heavy mountain snow is anticipating. The showers will stretch into the northern Rockies. We're looking at flash flooding and landslide risk. Today, we do have that flash flood risk from Northern California all the way up into Washington State. We're looking at accumulation amounts of rainfall through Wednesday up to maybe 8 inches, maybe some even locally higher amounts. And of course, that means that we have that elevated risk that will continue through Thursday for flash floods and landslides. And we'd also have those wind alerts with those destructive wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour. However, the good news in all of this is that we do have some spring-like temperatures in the west. They're enjoying above average temperatures, and some of that warm air will be spreading into the east and will help us out a little bit over here on this side of the country.
We're pulling it in.
Exactly. Come on over.
Yeah. Thank you.
Much more to come on this busy hour of morning news now. We're going to have continuing coverage of the shocking death of legendary filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer, the latest from police in L.A., and a look back at his storied career.
First, though, after the break, could we soon see some new evidence in the decades-old cold case of JonBenet Ramsey? We have an update. That's up next. We are back now with an update in the JonBenet Ramsey murder investigation nearly 3 decades after her death. Boulder, Colorado police say they have obtained new evidence and conducted new interviews and tests on items related to the young girl's brutal killing. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has more on how investigators say they are working to solve this cold case. It certainly held our attention for those many decades. Liz, good morning.
Yeah, hi, Savannah. Good morning to you. Well, come Christmas, it will be 29 years since JonBenet Ramsey's murder first captured that mass interest, though police have never charged anyone for the 6-year-old's death. Now they say over the course of the investigation, they've combed through more than 21,000 tips, and they are still working with DNA experts now to try and find the killer.
Our agency is committed to doing everything we can to bring justice to JonBenet.
In a new update, Boulder's top cop says his agency has collected new evidence and conducted several new interviews in the unsolved murder case of JonBenet Ramsey, ensuring the public the investigation is open and active.
My direction to our department has been clear. Leave no stone unturned.
It was the morning after Christmas in 1996 when the 6-year-old child pageant queen was first thought to have been kidnapped and later found killed in her own home. Now, nearly 29 years later, authorities say they've tested and retested some pieces of evidence.
Techniques and technology constantly evolve. This is especially true with technology related to DNA testing.
While police did not give additional details on who or what they have been looking into, a major unknown, DNA from an unidentified male, which was found on JonBenet's body, has long loomed over the investigation.
That lack of experience procedurally created a lot of problems in the crime scene.
That DNA was the focus of a Netflix documentary which premiered last year. JonBenet's father, John Ramsey, had been critical of the Boulder Police Department's initial investigation, which put him and his wife Patsy under intense scrutiny over decades before authorities cleared them.
I did not kill my daughter, JonBenet.
I did not have anything to do with it. I love that child with my whole of my heart and soul.
But the potential for new DNA testing has since made him hopeful, as he told Savannah here on Today.
You still have hope that this can be solved?
I believe it can be solved if the police accept help from outside their system.
In the nearly 3 decades since that brutal murder, interest has hardly faded.
Will we ever figure out what happened to JonBenet?
But with the case still cold, authorities are now asking for anyone with knowledge of the crime to come forward.
And I urge those responsible for this murder to contact us.
Now, Liz, authorities seem to be keeping details of this new evidence really under wraps. Are there any other details that we do know at this point that we should hear?
Well, really, Savannah, authorities say they don't want to share the details of what they're looking into because they don't want to compromise the investigation. One thing, though, that is catching some people's attention is that last part of the police chief's statement that we played there, in which he urges those responsible for the murder to contact the department. Some have now taken that to mean that investigators may be looking into multiple people being involved in her killing. And, Savannah, we should note we have asked Boulder PD for a comment on that, but we have not heard back.
All right, Liz, thank you very much.
We are learning new details about Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado and her daring effort to make it out of Venezuela to Oslo, Norway, for the award ceremony. Machado arrived too late to actually accept her own prize. The opposition leader's escape was actually mapped out by a U.S. Special Forces veteran. She had to dodge military checkpoints and cross dangerous waters in the Caribbean in a small fishing boat. It's a story that's inspiring supporters around the world. NBC News anchor Jose Diaz-Balart has more on the perilous journey.
After more than a year in hiding, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado appearing in Oslo, Norway as a Nobel laureate. But her journey to get there was no simple task.
This operation, from a difficulty perspective on a scale of 1 to 10, was about 106.
U.S. Special Forces veteran Brian Stern planned and helped her escape from Venezuela.
I was not thinking I'm rescuing a Nobel Prize winner. I'm thinking I'm rescuing a mom who's trying to get to her kids.
That successful mission making this family reunion possible after a long time apart. Machado's daughter, Ana Corina Sosa, who accepted her mother's Nobel Peace Prize, speaking with me about what the moment meant for her. Ana Corina, what's that hug been like?
I've been dreaming about that moment for what seems like the longest time. I haven't seen her for 2 years because going to Venezuela means risking our lives. It was just my brothers and I and my mother's husband just wanting to see her, to hug her, to embrace her and smell her. It was very emotional.
In an exclusive interview before she left while still in hiding, Machado telling me her vision and her mission for Venezuela without Nicolás Maduro would change Latin America and the world.
As soon as Maduro goes and this regime goes, we will fight for democracy in Cuba and in Nicaragua. And for the first time in history, we will have the Americas free of communism, dictatorship, and narco-terrorism.
Our thanks to Jose Diaz-Balart for that report. Machado's daughter tells NBC News that her mom does plan to return to Venezuela.
Coming up, continuing coverage of the shock echoing throughout Hollywood and beyond this morning. Legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner reportedly found dead along with his wife, Michelle Singer, yesterday.
After the break, a look back at Reiner's decades-long career in entertainment and the side-splitting projects that catapulted him to fame. That is next. We are back with more on this morning's lead story. Hollywood filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were found dead from apparent stab wounds in their L.A. home. That's according to family sources.
Paramedics were called to the home yesterday afternoon to check on reports that there were 2 bodies inside. Right now, police aren't calling it a homicide, only referring to the case as a death investigation. For decades, Reiner worked both in front of and behind the camera, creating some of Hollywood's most memorable and beloved films.
For more on that, let's bring in NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Molas with a look at just an incredible legacy that Rob Reiner leaves behind.
This is just so devastating, and there are tributes pouring in from so many people in Hollywood. Films like When Harry Met Sally, This is Spinal Tap, Sleepless in Seattle, and A Few Good Men, just a handful of the unforgettable films Rob Reiner had a hand in. But it was his award-winning performance on the groundbreaking television show All in the Family that first launched him to stardom.
This morning, Hollywood stars and film fans are remembering Rob Reiner's legendary body of work, both in front of the camera and behind it. Reiner became a household name on the groundbreaking show All in the Family.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Bunker. No, let me tell you something, Mr. Stivic. You are a meathead.
His role as Archie Bunker's son-in-law earning him 2 Emmys.
We have Spinal Tap from the UK!
In 1984, Reiner releasing his first film, This is Spinal Tap.
These go to 11.
Reiner reflecting on the cult classic here on Today, alongside the original cast after they recently released a sequel more than 40 years later.
It was a form that nobody had done. I mean, it was this fake documentary. It was not just satirizing heavy metal. We were also satirizing the documentary form.
Reiner went on to direct a string of legendary films like The Princess Bride.
You can die too for all I care. Oh.
As you wish.
Stand By Me. Misery, and A Few Good Men, which earned Reiner an Academy Award nod for Best Picture.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
But his love for comedy shined in the classic rom-com When Harry Met Sally. Reiner's own mother delivering one of the film's most iconic lines.
I'll have what she's having.
Rob Reiner inherited the funny bone from his dad, legendary comedian and actor Carl Reiner.
He set the best possible example for how to live a life, and that's what he taught me.
Over the years, Reiner still flexed his comedic chops on camera.
$26,000 worth of sides?
Even appearing recently on The Bear.
The Bear, yeah, no, I know. The sandwich is excellent. But the restaurant I'm hearing is hit and miss.
Overnight, tributes from fellow actors pouring in. Kathy Bates telling NBC News, "I loved Rob. He was brilliant and kind," adding, "He changed the course of my life."
Late last night, I spoke to his daughter, Tracy Reiner, from his first marriage to Penny Marshall, and we had this 20-minute phone call, and in it, she was reminiscing on her childhood, and she said, "I had the greatest family ever." Said that she's in shock, and she'll be traveling to Los Angeles today to be with family.
So many tributes are going to be pouring in throughout the day. He was beloved. All right, Chloe, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're also following developments out of Australia following that country's worst mass shooting in decades. At least 15 people were killed on Sunday when officials say 2 gunmen opened fire at a Jewish celebration at Sydney's famous Bondi Beach. A 10-year-old girl and rabbi were among those killed in what authorities are calling a terror attack. Police say the suspects are a father-son duo. They say the father was fatally shot on the scene, while the son was hospitalized with critical injuries. The family of a 43-year-old Syrian Muslim immigrant who has been described as a hero for disarming one of the shooters, well, they say he is recovering in the hospital after undergoing surgery for bullet wounds.
And in the U.S., authorities in Rhode Island are renewing their search for the gunman that killed 2 people and injured 9 others at Brown University on Saturday. Overnight, authorities released a man they had detained and initially called a person of interest in the attack on the Ivy League campus. Police said they did not have enough evidence to prosecute that person. The shooting occurred Saturday afternoon inside an academic building as students were studying for final exams. Brown University said in a statement that they, quote, "do not believe there is any immediate threat to Brown or the local community as authorities continue their investigation. Classes and exams have been canceled." Coming up, America's penny pinch is causing headaches for both retailers and shoppers alike this morning.
When we come back, why the end of that 1-cent darling is leaving some folks feeling shortchanged at the checkout counter. That's next. Stay with us. We're back now with a look at the growing penny pinch that's happening nationwide. The small 1-cent coin may have died a month ago. We actually did an obituary on it, but we are still dealing with a penny phase out. Now, with fewer pennies circulating, retailers are creating new payment policies, leaving some customers confused and others shortchanged for cash.
If you're pinching pennies today,
Squeeze every penny. I'm squeezing it.
You are not alone.
3, 2, 1.
After the abrupt finale of the 1-cent coin back in November, when the U.S. Mint pressed the final penny, retailers across the country are scrambling to come up with change. According to a recent survey of 25 major retailers nationwide, 2/3 say when they're short on pennies, they're rounding cash transactions in favor of the consumer. That means retailers will round up your change to the nearest nickel, so if you're owed 3 cents, you'll get back 5.
On this occasion, they actually rounded up.
It's a policy companies like Target, Auntie Anne, Cinnabon, and Carvel are recommending to their locations when pennies are not available. While other chains like McDonald's say restaurants may round up or down to the nearest 5 cents. The new rules of change now have everyone offering their own 2 cents on social media.
So they owe me 7 cents. They're going to round it down to a nickel, it says on their sign. How is that right?
This is exactly how it's supposed to be done. They should have owed me $2 and a penny. They couldn't give me a penny, so they gave me $2.05.
Earlier this year, the Treasury Department decided to suspend production of the penny, citing its growing irrelevance. But the small coin only seems to be growing in value. The last ever minted U.S. pennies just fetched top dollar at an auction, with one set of 3 selling for $800,000. Experts estimate about 300 billion pennies are circulating in the market today, though the vast majority are not with the Federal Reserve, but likely stuck in water jugs or piggy banks, meaning if you're willing to offer up a pretty penny, it'll certainly go a long way.
If you have the pennies back at home right now, feel free to bring them into your retailers or your banks. I will tell you right now that store manager is going to give you a huge hug.
Any hug. All right, retail groups are urging Congress to establish a national standard for rounding those cash transactions, which would help businesses, create less confusion for customers. If you're someone who wants to get exact change or just skip the math headache altogether, you can always use your credit or debit card. That'll work too.
The problems that we didn't really think about.
Right, exactly.
Like, yeah.
Government, please step in.
All right, well, it turns out Americans are having trouble with a little bit more than just pennies. Financial stress is leading consumers to rethink their holiday lists.
NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has your Money Minute. Emily, good morning.
Hey, guys, good morning. That's right. This holiday season, Americans are dialing back on the splurges, and they are sticking to what is most practical. So high prices are pushing shoppers toward essentials such as appliances, clothing, and household goods. According to Adobe Analytics, Cyber Monday sales of items like refrigerators and vacuums surged 1,700% from average levels in October. And while, according to the National Retail Federation, holiday sales are expected to grow about 4%, families are expected to buy fewer gifts and trade luxury items for necessities. And South Africa is planning to overhaul the nation's cash system. The country's central bank is creating a shared cash management company, rolling out white label ATMs and tightening oversight to cut the high cost of moving and securing money, costs that hit consumers hardest. Cash usage is expected to drop by 30 to 40%. Finally, as Powerball's jackpot passes the $1 billion mark, its biggest contributor may be its rival. Powerball ticket sales are surging while Mega Millions sales are lagging after Mega Millions raised its ticket prices from $2 to $5 in April. It's a difference that's turning off cost-conscious Americans. The next Powerball drawing is tonight with a $1.1 billion jackpot and more than $500 million cash value. So, guys, the $3 for the Mega Millions clearly made a big difference for people.
Yeah, exactly. Who can keep up? It's a jackpot that's $1 billion every week, so it feels like now.
For real. We're always talking about that. Thank you. Coming up, it's a holiday spectacle that has divided city dwellers for years.
But have you ever wondered how exactly the phenomenon of SantaCon got to where it is today? We're going to take you behind the red hats in a brand new documentary next on Morning News Now.
We're going to end this hour with a global holiday event that's beloved and reviled, the infamous SantaCon. People dress up as Santa or maybe another favorite holiday character and flood the streets in cities around the world. It all started, actually, though, as a small 38-person event in San Francisco back in 1994. Well, today, there are more than 300 events across more than 40 countries every year. In fact, tens of thousands of Santas just took to the streets over the weekend right here in New York City on Saturday. This annual St. Nick spectacle is the subject of a new documentary. It is called SantaCon, and it takes a deep dive into the event's contentious holiday history. And I am excited to have the producer, writer, and director of SantaCon, Seth Porges, here with us in studio. Seth, good morning.
Good morning.
I think this is one of those things where, like, if you know it, you didn't need that introduction at all. If this happens on the streets of your city, you have seen it, you've experienced it. Maybe once or twice you've participated in it. It's kind of a rite of passage. Did you ever?
Only for making this movie. like everybody in New York, all I knew about SantaCon was stay away. You see a couple thousand fools in red and you just cross the street. So when I started making this movie and found out the history of it, I was blown away by how much more there was to it.
Tell us a little bit. I gave a little bit. 38 people, San Francisco, 94, but give us a little bit more background here.
Yeah, most people who know SantaCon today just know it as this massive bar crawl in New York, most infamously, but also in hundreds of other cities. But started in the 90s in San Francisco as this kind of weird, like, street performance art project by the same people who created Burning Man, weirdly, and who were the real-life inspiration for the book Fight Club. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. And the
Who are these guys?
It was a group called the Cacophony Society, and the folks who started it have totally disowned this thing. And until I tricked them into returning to SantaCon 25 years later for the film, they had absolutely avoided it.
Oh, my gosh. I know, as a New Yorker, every year you're like, oh, boy, there they are. You know, it's like you can't avoid it. What made you, I understand how interesting the story is, but to think like, I'm going to make a film about this?
It was stumbling onto all of these home movies. So it turns out an old friend of mine named Scott had videotaped many of the first several years of SantaCon, and I saw this footage and I was just taken back in time to the 1990s. I mean, you're seeing right now, Santa's climbing the Brooklyn Bridge in 1998 under the shadow of the Twin Towers. Santa's just spreading joy and wonder. And the thing that was so different in the footage wasn't so much the Santas themselves were acting that differently. They're always a little naughty, maybe drinking a little too much. It's the people around them. Today, you and I, we know, avoid this thing, but back then, nobody had ever seen it before. So instead of seeing fear and terror and horror in the onlookers' faces, you see joy and wonder and surprise, and that's what drew me in.
What do you think? How did it change? What was the evolution here?
Well, the power of SantaCon and its ability to inspire joy and wonder and awe was its newness, its novelty, the fact that nobody had ever seen this before. But once you've seen it before, and once you've seen it every year, it just stops having that impact, and it just becomes this other thing. And what people wanted it to become, it turned out, was an excuse to dress anonymously and get drunk.
Right. It's really scary to me that I used to think this was fun.
Used to.
I mean, now I'm like, oh, I couldn't want to be farther from it. For people who are interested in seeing this, maybe they've heard a little bit about it or they're just watching our conversation right now. Is this sort of like a dose of holiday cheer or not so much?
I mean, the movie, I hope, is a fun time. Yeah, I mean, really, like, what I wanted to capture was just how weird and chaotic and fun it was in these early years. And maybe that forces you to kind of re-examine these things you sort of take for granted around you and say, ugh, what is this thing? Well, maybe it used to be something else. Everything changes over the years. And what do? Do we say, I'm angry that these things aren't what they used to be or how I remember them? Or do we say, I'm going to go do something else that's cool?
Totally. I actually, like, even just seeing the mass groups of them, whether it's right now on the screen or in real life, I am sort of like, oh, at least there's some Santas in terms of, like, the Christmas cheer. Very quickly, how different was this to work on than other things that you've done?
I mean, this, you might have seen some of my prior work, including Class Action Park. I think a lot of my movies sort of delve into the allure and limits of chaos and anarchy. You know, Class Action Park was about this dangerous amusement park that became more popular the more people learned how dangerous it was. SantaCon 2, I think, is a movie about how, despite common sense, we're just drawn like moths to the flame to these chaotic, perhaps even dangerous scenarios.
Seth, thank you so much. Fascinating look. Congratulations. Everybody check it out, SantaCon. We appreciate you coming by.
Thank you.
And that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.